Welcome to the very first edition of Healthcare Signals That Matter, your rapid snapshot of the biggest movements shaping the US healthcare market. With me, Meghana Arun Pillai with Intent.Health. From GLP-1 disruption and pharma earnings to prayer policy shifts, healthcare affordability, IPO activity, antitrust enforcement, and breakthrough drug trials and healthcare ecosystem moved fast this week. Let's get into the signals that mattered. Story 1 of the week. GLP-1 boom driving aesthetic demand. GLP-1 weight loss drugs are now creating secondary demand waves across the healthcare economy. As rapid weight loss increases, aesthetic procedures including skin tightening, body contouring, and facial rejuvenation are seeing a measurable rise in interest and patient demand. This is one of the clearest examples of how one therapy category can create downstream impact across entirely different healthcare verticals. The obesity drug market is no longer just a pharma story. It's becoming an ecosystem story. Story 2 of the week. Protein demand surges alongside weight loss drugs. The GLP-1 boom is also reshaping consumer nutrition behavior. High-protein foods, supplements, and functional nutrition categories are seeing strong demand growth as users of weight loss drugs focus on muscle retention and metabolic health. Healthcare, wellness, retail nutrition, and consumer packaged goods are increasingly intersecting around this trend. A single therapeutic category is now influencing food supply chains, wellness brands, and retail buying patterns. Story 3 of the week. Amazon expands into GLP-1 distribution with the same-day access capabilities. The move signals a larger transformation underway. Retail, logistics, pharmacy, and healthcare are converging faster than ever. The future healthcare battleground may not just be hospitals and clinics, but convenience, fulfillment speed, and consumer access. Story 4 of the week. United Healthcare reduces prior authorization requirements. In one of the most operationally important payer developments this week, United Healthcare announced it will remove prior authorization requirements for roughly 30% of services. The decision could significantly reduce administrative burden on providers and accelerate patient access timelines. This also reflects mounting industry pressure around physician burnout, payer friction, and healthcare operational efficiency. Story 5 of the week. Healthcare affordability has officially become one of the biggest voter concerns in the United States. Rising insurance costs, drug pricing pressures, care access challenges, and out-of-pocket expenses continue to dominate public sentiment ahead of the election cycle. Healthcare is no longer just a policy discussion. It is becoming a central economic and political issue. Story 6 of the week. US drug pricing agreement could save $64 billion. A major drug pricing agreement in the United States is projecting to save approximately $64.3 billion over time. The development could reshape payer economics, Medicare negotiation, pharmaceutical pricing strategies, and reimbursement models across multiple therapy areas. This story is likely to have long-term ripple effects throughout the pharma ecosystems. Story 7 of the week. CVS drops Stelara from key formularies. CVS Health plans to remove Johnson & Johnson's blockbuster drug Stelara from several key formularies. The decision highlights the growing influence of pharmacy benefit managers and the increasing competitive pressure from biosimilars and alternative therapies. Formulary positioning is rapidly becoming one of the biggest strategic battlegrounds in healthcare. Story 8 of the week. CVS raises forecast after medical cost improvements. CVS Health also raised its 2026 forecast after improvements in medical cost management. The update suggests large healthcare organizations are intensifying operational discipline while balancing payer pressure, pharmacy economics, and utilization trends. Healthcare efficiency is now directly tied to investor confidence. Story 9 of the week. Pfizer beats expectation on Eliquis demand. Pfizer reported stronger than expected performance driven largely by sustained demand for Eliquis. While the market continues to watch post-pandemic pharma normalization, cardiovascular therapies remain a major revenue stabilizer for large pharmaceutical companies. Story 10 of the week. DaVita raises profit forecast. Dialysis giant DaVita raised its annual profit forecast amid strong demand for dialysis services. The update reflects the continued growth pressure tied to chronic kidney disease management and long-term care demand across the United States. Story 11 of the week. Cencora rises annual forecast. Healthcare distributor Cencora raised its annual profit outlook despite a quarterly miss. The broader takeaway: healthcare supply chain and pharmaceutical distribution continue to remain resilient even amid margin pressure and operational complexity.
Story 12
Multiple
of
healthcare IPO signals continue. This week also saw continued IPO momentum across healthcare and biotech. Emergency medical service provider GMR filed for a US IPO. Odyssey Therapeutics also moved forward with IPO plans. And in cross-border healthcare M&A news, Italy's Angelini Pharma announced plans to acquire US-based Catalyst Pharma in a deal valued at approximately $4.1 billion. Capital markets activity in healthcare is clearly accelerating again. Story 13 of the week. Breakthrough clinical trial updates. Several important clinical developments emerged this week as well. Viridian Therapeutics reported positive late-stage trial results for its eye disease drug candidate. Mirum Pharmaceuticals announced encouraging results for its liver disease treatment program. And Entrara Therapeutics shared early-stage Duchenne muscular dystrophy data showing improvement in muscle function. Rare disease and specialty therapeutics continue to remain one of the most active innovation area in biotech. Story 14 of the week. HIV prevention uptakes rises, but gaps remain. HIV prevention adoption continues to increase in the United States, but major access and coverage gaps still remain. The story highlights a recurring healthcare reality. Innovation alone is not enough. Equitable access remains one of the industry's biggest challenges. Story 15 of the week. Supreme Court restores telemedicine access to abortion pill. The US Supreme Court temporarily restored access to abortion medication through telemedicine channels. The decision once again places digital healthcare delivery, reproductive health access, and state-level healthcare regulation at the center of national debate. Story 16 of the week. Health Secretary pushes rapid policy wins. The US Health Secretary is reportedly accelerating healthcare policy initiatives ahead of the election cycle. Expect healthcare regulation, affordability, drug pricing, and access initiatives to become increasingly active topic over the coming months. Story 17 of the week. States increase antitrust and consumer protection enforcement. State attorneys general across the US are increasing antitrust and consumer protection enforcement activity. Healthcare consolidation, pricing transparency, PBM oversight, and large healthcare mergers are likely to face even greater scrutiny going forward. And that wraps up the very first episode of Healthcare Signals That Matter. What you are seeing across these stories is not isolated news. It's a pattern. Healthcare is becoming more interconnected than ever. Pharma impacts retail, payer impacts workflows, policy impacts pricing, consumer behavior impacts care delivery, and intelligence is becoming the most valuable layer connecting all of it. If you sell to, market to, recruit for, or operate within US healthcare, these signals matter. This is Meghana Arun Pillai with Intent.Health. See you next Monday with another breakdown of the signals shaping US healthcare.